reading of some distinguished citizen, as the stories say, who gets an honorary degree from a college, usually called a doctor's degree, and that's understandable. It's a kind of special recognition for someone who's proved he's an expert in his own right. Well, what about an honorary doctor's degree for some American drivers? Sounds crazy, you think? But why should it? There are quite a few who deserve some special recognition because they're real experts. It doesn't matter if you're one of the fair sex or a young fellow out for a spin with your girl. Maybe you're one of them. If you are, you always have safe, positive control of your automobile. Always ready for action before action is needed. Because you plan it that way. If so, driving is always a pleasure for you and your passengers, whether it's a Sunday afternoon trip across town or a business trip on the highway. What makes an expert driver? Well, of course, you have to meet the physical requirements. Things like visual acuity, ability to pick out different colors, and reaction time. And anyone with expert ideas would certainly take every opportunity to test himself on these things. But as far as a diploma goes, there are two basic mental requirements. First, there's expert understanding about automobiles. That's simply knowing what an automobile is really for, to get you wherever you want to be, safely, comfortably, and pleasantly. The second thing is something called driving perception. That's a little harder to explain, but it's easier to show in a kind of laboratory with our cameraman's help. All right? Driving perception is seeing, understanding what you see, and anticipating whatever action the situation may require. This difference between just seeing and also understanding and anticipating is a good yardstick for measuring your driving skill. The camera can help us again. For instance, an expert driver perceives more than other drivers. Not just ahead, but way ahead. And not just to the side, but all around it. He's constantly checking his awareness of the whole scene. So he's always aware of everything that's going on. He sees the car ahead of him, sure, but he also perceives one ahead of that. And another one approaching from the side. And he's always alert to what different things mean. He sees a parked car. And he perceives that with a driver, it could suddenly turn out. He's ready for action. He not only sees a traffic signal, he perceives waiting cars. That means the light might soon change, so he's ready. He's alert to different visibility at night, to weather conditions, and most of all to his own position in relation to other cars under all conditions. Let's ride with an expert driver and see good driving perception in action. In fact, let's go right where this perception takes place, in his mind. That's right. It looks like a view through the windshield, but now we're seeing it in his mind. A doctor of driving has a special kind of picture in his mind. For instance, this car approaching the highway. The average driver only sees what is happening, but an expert driver also perceives what might happen. Isn't that right? Knowing this, the expert driver anticipates action. He adjusts his speed to take care of any situation. So he's not surprised at the last minute if the driver should fail to stop for a through highway. This ability to anticipate applies to every situation. Now, for instance, passing this car. Thinking ahead, a doctor of driving perceives it would be too close for safety. So, he waits and passes when he's sure of the situation. Isn't that the way you do it? Of course, this anticipating is especially important on hills and curves where you can't even see approaching cars. An expert just assumes they're there and insists on a full, clear view before passing. And that kind of driver is always anticipating in traffic. He's always ready for action before action is needed. As a result, he can take pride in his ability to make up for the bad driving habits of others. For instance, the lane hoppers who weave in and out of traffic. Their frantic antics just amuse an expert. And the paint scrapers who cut in on you because they haven't looked far enough ahead. Then there are those lovable characters, the brake braggers, who only believe in last-minute stops. And at the other end of the scale, the jackrabbits, another familiar kind of jerky driver. And those armless wonders. Even with direction signals, they figure their intentions are top secret or something. And we have the tail huggers, trusting souls who never figure you might have to make a quick stop. And the unofficial timers. They know how long a light stays green, but brother, how frequently their timing is off. Well, these driving curiosities never upset the expert. First of all, even with his understanding and perception, when a doctor of driving is driving, he concentrates on driving. But most of all, it's his attitude. He enjoys driving. He finds real pleasure in it. And he can always be proud of the confidence his passengers have in it. So he's a better driver than most people simply because he wants to be. And maybe because he gets special enjoyment out of being an expert. And that's something extra. Maybe that belongs on the diploma too. For a doctor of driving certainly takes pride in his ability to master the situation, whatever other drivers do. But he's no show-off. His pride is in driving so comfortably safe that only other experts ever notice him. And you know, that's really the only way to tell if you deserve a doctor's degree in driving. Having enough understanding, perception, and pride of your own to recognize other expert drivers and be recognized by them. If there were only more expert drivers on the road, wouldn't driving always be a tremendous pleasure for all of us? Now, Doctor, don't you agree?